Welcome to the ABA412 tutorial. In the previous module, we explored topic selection and a number of ways to revise topics that start out too broad, too narrow, or too current to research as is. In this module, we'll move from topic selection to keyword selection. One of the most common challenges that students encounter when researching a paper is finding appropriate sources. Sometimes there don't seem to be any sources on a topic, or way too many. As we talked about in the previous module, this may be because the topic doesn't have quite the right focus, or is so new that the research hasn't been done yet. Frequently, however, the problem comes down to keyword choices. Here's an example. Imagine that you're interested in learning about the relationship between fertility, educational attainment, and gender. If you type this question into Google or any other search service, here's an example of what you might find. So initially you start out with some pretty good looking results, or at least relatively relevant. And as we scroll down the page though, you start to very quickly see some less obvious results. And I'd also like to draw your attention to the way that Google has been highlighting our search terms. And while I scroll back up the page, have a think about how these highlighted terms might have influenced what we saw here. Well, what's happening is that by typing this entire question into the search engine, you're basically leaving it to the computer to try and decide which ideas and concepts are the most crucially important to you. On the face of things, this particular tool appears to prioritize word order, since the first word in our question is relationships. And as we saw when we scrolled up and down the page, relationships is one of the words that's being really highlighted here. And as we went down, increasingly it appeared as though the focus of the results was on the notion of relationships. But is this topic really about relationships? Or even a little bit about relationships? And if not, why then would you complicate your search with words that aren't core to your research? So, what is core to this topic? Perhaps boiled right down, the core concepts are education, fertility, and food security. Let's see what happens to this search if we cut out everything but these three words. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to add a set of quotes around the phrase food security so that the search engine will look for this specific phrase and not just bring back things that have the word food or security anywhere in the document. If we go through this particular results list now, and if you experiment with this at home, I think that you're going to find out that you're going to wind up with a more robust and relevant set of results. And notice something else. By asking for results that must have this term and this term and this term in them all together, we're automatically getting materials that in some way explore how these three things interrelate. So in fact, there's no need to muddy your search by introducing keywords that aren't core concepts, like the word relationships. Interestingly, this is true for other words that are commonly part of a research question, but that aren't really core. Words like impact, benefit, advantage, disadvantage, influence, cause, and so on. Words like these, which actually express your value judgments or the type of interrelationships that you wish to explore, are problematic for a number of reasons. First of all, online search tools are powered by algorithms. Unlike the human brain, algorithms don't make intuitive connections between ideas. They don't interpret, and they don't guess what you want. They'll only bring back exactly what you ask for. So if you were to add a keyword such as impact into the mix, you're going to limit yourself to results where the author used that particular word along with the other keywords you chose. And so you'll miss crucial sources whose authors didn't happen to use the word impact. Secondly, many words in English have multiple meanings, which can fill your results list with materials that aren't relevant. Thirdly, and most relevant when it comes down to judgment words such as positive, negative, benefit, disadvantage, and so forth. If you add judgment words into your searches, you may be inadvertently creating an echo chamber for yourself. By limiting yourself only to those researchers who happen to agree exactly with your position, you aren't fully engaging in the research process. Good quality research doesn't pretend that conflicting views don't exist. And so if you fail to tackle those conflicting views, your work might be considered biased or incomplete. So, at this point, it would be a good time for you to write down your research question and decide what the 2 or 3 core concepts in it really are. I've prepared a worksheet for you that you're welcome to download that will help you with this process. And while it may seem a bit simplistic, in fact, it's a really worthwhile exercise for you to double check that your search terms really do represent your topic accurately. And at the same time, it's going to encourage you to seek out at least one synonym for each of your keywords. Remember what I've said previously. Search engines are much more limited than the human brain. They won't guess at what you want or connect the terms you choose with similar ideas. So if you don't add even any synonyms to your search, you'll miss all the sources where the researcher happened to use different terminology than the terms you've chosen. And this is especially important if you're using any terminology where there's commonly used synonyms in the literature. Once you've filled out both sides of the worksheet, you should move on to the final presentation in this tutorial. We'll look at how you can take your keywords and synonyms into a subject-specific article database such as PsycInfo or ERIC to find the type of materials you need for your project. I should also note that while the final tutorial focuses on these databases, you can run the exact same type of advanced searches in the library's main discovery search by clicking the advanced search link on the library main page.